Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite herbs, which also happens to be my favorite tree and my favorite flower. This is Magnolia grandiflora. I picked this flower earlier about noon when it was spread out about as wide as a dinner plate. The smell is incredible. It's like lemon with a hint of vanilla. The entire flower is edible. It's full of sugars. This flower in just a couple of days will turn brown because of all the sugars in it. Very few people remember this as medicine, but it is absolutely emblematic of the place I call home, which is the South. I have been writing a book, and in that book, I'm talking about some of our regional plants, our regional herbs. And rather than go through notes like I usually do, or just talk off the top of my head, I'm going to read from you a little passage to you from my new book, which will be published in about 2 months, by the way. So keep an eye out for it. This is Magnolia, and I talk about, I guess, three different types of Magnolia. The grandiflora is the sort of that symbol of the old southern plantation life. Um, it's the one you would associate with Gone with the Wind. We have several others. There's the mountain one, it's called the cucumber plant. I'll talk about that in a second. But starting with the grandiflora, this is what I wrote. No tree is as emblematic of the American South as the Magnolia grandiflora, and certainly no tree is as beautiful or fragrant. The large, strongly lemon-scented and edible blossoms mix with the aroma of gardenia on those warm, sultry southern nights for which our region is known. This is an inseparable part of the magic charm of the South. But in the mountains where I was born, the cucumber tree is far more common. And in my childhood spent off the mountain, I well remember the Sweet Bay in the eastern Piedmont and coastal swamps. Now, the Sweet Bay, it's the leaves are a little more aromatic. The flower isn't as much. We'll get to it in a minute. Miss Greaves, in her modern herbal, written in the 1930s, said this genus is named in commemoration of Pierre Magnolia, a famous professor of medicine and botany of Montpellier in the early 18th century. All its members are handsome with luxuriant foliage and rich flowers. The leaves of Magnolia acuminata are oval, about 6 inches long and 3 inches broad, slightly hairy below, with a diameter of 6 inches, and the fruit or cone about 3 inches long, resembling a small cucumber. Well, you can see this is somewhat different. The leaves are longer and definitely not oval. They're shiny on top, but they do have a felt kind of texture on the bottom. These flowers, like I said, can be about the size of a dinner plate when they're open. And let me see if I can show you one petal. I mean, they're very large. And, it tastes of lemon, maybe a little vanilla, and a little pine or bay leaf, a little laurel type flavor. This scent is just incredible. You could definitely eat these, and they're very good. They're strong flavor though. They really are strong flavor, and that strong flavor slightly astringent. This is just eating the petals of this are good for a sore throat or mouth sores. But anyway, there's slight bitterness too. I would almost say they're like somewhere between honeysuckle and forsythia. They have the sweetness of honeysuckle and the very slight bitterness of forsythia. Good appetite stimulant. I could definitely see this torn up into salad. We're using a variety of different ways. But anyway, back to what I was reading. Oh, the large tree can gain a height of 80 feet or more. Anyway, the bark of the young wood is curved or quilled, fissured outside. Now, what that means on the bark of the tree, a lot of times it'll split and it'll curl back. Um, Overall, it's not a smooth barked tree. The bark has no astringency, though. The tonic properties are found in various degrees in various species. And that tonic is that toning astringent quality that I just said, when I ate the petal. It's even more pronounced in the leaves, which is why it can also often be compared to a bay laurel. Medicinal actions and uses. A mild diaphoretic tonic, aromatic stimulant. It is used in rheumatism and malaria and is contraindicated in inflammatory symptoms. In the Allegheny districts, the cones are steeped in spirits to make a tonic tincture. Now, I've read that in many books. I've never actually seen anyone do it. I need to give it a try. When I was a kid, we would pick up the cones, which in the big ones like this are about that long, and they look like little grenades, and we pull the tops off with our teeth and throw them at each other. In the mountains, the cucumber plant, the cucumber tree, much smaller. The cones are about that big. Um, a warm infusion is laxative and sudorific, a cold one being antipyretic and mildly tonic. Now, let's get into a more modern book, Plants for a Future. But before I do that, another thing in folk medicine and folklore, Magnolia is often mentioned, or which Magnolia is often mentioned, is that the bark can be chewed as a substitute for tobacco. Now, I don't have an addiction to tobacco, so I've never tried it. But people used to say that if you chewed tobacco bark, it would help wean you off of tobacco. It's worth a try. You know, if you actually have a problem with tobacco, if you're addicted to it, if chewing tobacco is in particular, this would be a very healthy way to get off the habit. And, you know, some people chew mint. I don't see any reason why you couldn't mix the two. You could put a little lobelia in there and get sort of that tobacco type of burn and bronchial stimulation. Could be a good idea. I'm just talking off the top of my head on that. But anyway, Plants for a Future set of grandiflora, the one I was just showing you. The bark is diaphoretic and stimulant and tonic, used in the treatment of malaria and rheumatism. A decoction has been used as a wash and a bath for prickly heat itching. That's like heat rashes, you know. The decoction has also been used as a wash for sores and as a steam bath for treating dropsy. That dropsy swelling when it won't go down, usually in the legs. You know, fluid retention. An alcoholic extract, that's a tincture of the plant, reduces blood pressure. It produces a slight acceleration in respiration, but has no action on the heart. The cucumber tree, which is one that's more common up in the mountains, the flowers are much smaller. They don't form a round shape. They kind of go out in little, you know, the petals are so small they don't join up when the plant opens up, when the flower opens. Tea made from the bark is antipyretic, aromatic, mildly diaphoretic, laxative, and stimulant. Historically, it has been used as a substitute for quinine in the treatment of malaria. An infusion of the bark has been used in the treatment of stomach ache and cramps. Also, you can chew that one to give up tobacco. A decoction or a hot infusion, a tea, in other words, of the bark has been snuffed. That means injected up the nose. You would go, you know, up the nose to treat sinus problems and has been held in the mouth to treat toothaches. The bark is harvested in autumn and dried for later use. It does not store well, so should be gathered annually. Tea made from the fruit, now that would be the cone with the little berries on it, is tonic and used in the treatment of general debility and was formerly esteemed in the treatment of stomach ailments. General debility is one of those terms that we don't really use anymore. It just means overall weakness and listlessness, tiredness, you know, weakness. So there are a lot of old cures for general debility. Macrophylla is one we don't see very often around here, but it says a fusion of the bark has been used in the treatment of stomach aches or cramps. An infusion of the bark has been snuffed for treatment of sinus and has been held in the mouth for treating toothaches, just like before. Now, Virginiana is what I was talking about earlier, the one that we see more on the coast, where the flowers aren't much, but the leaves are almost like a bay leaf or a laurel leaf. Um, a tea from the bark is antipyretic, aromatic, diaphoretic, laxative, stimulant, and tonic. It has historically been used as a substitute for quinine in the treatment of malaria and is often taken internally for the treatment of colds, bronchial diseases, upper respiratory tract infections, rheumatism, and gout. The bark has been chewed by people trying to break the habit of tobacco. The bark is harvested in the autumn, dried for later use, etc., etc. The leaves or the bark have been placed in cupped hands over the nose and inhaled as a mild hallucinogen. Now, I guarantee you cannot do that with grandiflora. No. So, not having access to that one, I can't swear to it. But y'all, you'll never find a better smelling flower on a tree. You'll never find a more beautiful tree. And for me, it brings back memories of going to the University of Georgia, those hot summer nights, the smell of magnolia, and heaven on earth, as Louis Grizzard called it. So, y'all enjoy your magnolias while they're in bloom, and I will see you here next week. Have a good one.